William Milliken was a lieutenant governor under Governor Romney. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So then Romney went to HUD in Washington?
He went to HUD, and I actually took his letter of resignation down the hall and gave it to Dick Austin and the Secretary of State, and that made Milliken governor.
You're handing the letter.
Yeah,
so you made Milliken the governor.
Uh-huh.
Now, did you know them both pretty well?
Oh, I knew them both very well, yes,
you want to
of course.
tell a little about them, what you thought of the two of them, and how they
Well,
worked?
I think Michigan was fortunate to have two very excellent governors, but their styles were very different. George Romney was up and charging on everything. Sometimes he would go too far, too fast, and we on the staff would take turns trying to slow him down. Really, wonderful man to work for, but we had to tell him no every now and then. And Milliken was calmer, more reserved, and exceedingly polite, and seldom made any mistakes. Very seldom would say the wrong thing at the wrong time. Each had their own style, and each, I think, were very effective.
Of course, Romney had come out of private industry.
He came out of private industry.
He'd been the CEO of the corporation. And what about Milliken's background? What was his?
Milliken had a father was had a leading mercantile store, Milliken's, in Traverse City area and at Cadillac. But he also was a senator in the legislature in Michigan. So Bill had a combination of the two.
Yeah, the combination of the business background plus the political background.
Right.
Where George Romney came out of the private sector and did not.
Right. And I think one thing that helped Romney so much was his con experience. Yeah. There are a number of us who have felt, and I don't mind saying so, that if George Romney had been president of con rather than Nesbitt, he probably would not have been governor.
Well, Steve Nesbitt had the ability to keep things glued together.
Steve Nesbitt kept everybody calm and kept things moving.
Yeah, I said glued together and moving.
Right. Romney needed the political experience of con in order to adequately do the job as governor.
Now, where did his key staff come from?
Where does what?
Romney's key staff come from?
Romney's key staff came from people that he worked with at con.
Which bears out your point that con not only gave them a stepping stone in government, but gave him an ability to analyze how people could work.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm.
So that con sort of provided a farm team for executives of the governor's office.
Well, for example, Bob Danhoff was a con delegate and head of the Committee on Judiciary.
Yeah.
And he became Governor Romney's legal advisor. First, he started out for 1 year as a legislative advisor and then switched to legal advisor. People who had worked on the staff under CFM became Walter DeVries, for example. People that Romney worked with at con were the basis of his staff.
What did Walter DeVries serve as with Governor Romney?
He was the think tank, the new programs and development, head of that branch of the governor's staff.
So he was the think tank.
He was the think tank operator.
Yeah, not that others weren't, but he was ahead of it.
Yes.
And then
Arthur Elliott, for example, became state chairman, but he worked with Romney at con.
Now, Danhoff had been the campaign manager for Steve Nesbitt to be con president.
I had I had forgotten that. You're reminding me, Tom.
Well, I don't want, maybe I'll be interviewed sometime, but,
Yeah.
but I don't hope you don't mind my interposing some of those
Not
things
at all. It was helpful.
that I think will help.
Yeah.
And the other thing, just aside, I feel that you and I have become very good friends since CONCON. That's
Yes.
one of the criticism of term limits, that those of us there, most of us got there not knowing each other at all. And I think if you and I had known each other as well and CONCON started as we do now, we might have got a little more done. I don't know, but I think that's true. We made very good friendships in CONCON.
Tom,
you
I
feel
remember so well when CONCON finished, we started having debates on should you have a yes vote or a no vote. Yeah. And the first big debate was before the CIO,
yeah.
and I was to debate you, and you and I put on the first big debate. And when and Gus Scholl was the moderator, when I got up to speak, someone had handed the delegates yardsticks as an advertising gimmick, and everyone started beating their yardstick on the table, and my voice couldn't be heard.
I think the ACLU would probably have disapproved of that.
It took Gus Scholl, after about 5 minutes, to stand up and give his delegates a lecture and say, "Let Glenn Allen talk. You don't have to believe a word he says, but let him talk."
Just let him talk.
Yeah. So I did talk, and then we all went and had lunch together.
And we've had lunch ever since from time to time.
And that is true. Then you came to Kalamazoo, and we had a debate in Kalamazoo that was moderated by Willis Dunbar, the well-known professor of history who wrote the book on Michigan history and who did a political analysis on WKZO in Kalamazoo, and he moderated in the debate between you and me.
So we've had a lot of relationships together.
That's right.
But I think in all that time, Glenn, I feel it's been a very friendly relationship.
It was a friendly relation. Yeah. We didn't agree on some things, on a number of things.
Yeah, apportionment
but we politely disagreed.
But apportionment was probably the biggest single issue. And it's kind of sad because the U.S. Supreme Court decided that. It's kind of a tempest in a teapot with our getting so involved in it, and really the Supreme Court decided it.
Yes, that's true.
Let's tell us a little bit more about the Court of Appeals. People tend to think of the judicial operation as very stuffy, removed from reality. Can you tell us about some of the people on the Court of Appeals and experiences they had?
Well, when I went on the Court of Appeals, there were only 12 judges. We were elected from 3 different districts. Each district had approximately 3 million people, but in Wayne County and 2 other counties, you had 3 million people, but from my district, it took 63 counties to have 3 million people. One of our more interesting judges on the Court of Appeals when I went on was T. John Lazinski. But I had known T. John Lazinski when he was lieutenant governor under George Romney. And